Okay, friends, the pandemic, I think, I don't know if I'm speaking for you, I think it's making us all feel a bit stuck right now. One thing it has given us, though, is time to think and contemplate. In fact, there's rarely ever been a better time to kind of take stock and maybe make some adjustments in our lives. Antonio Neves has learned a whole lot about making those kind of changes. He's put what he's learned into this book with the fantastically intriguing title, Stop Living on Autopilot. Wow. If I buy this book, Antonio, will I stop doing it? Will I stop living on autopilot? That's the question, my love. How are you?
Oh,
how are you?
I'm doing great, and it's pretty much guaranteed that you will stop living on autopilot. I was just listening to the previous segment, and what's amazing, as horrible as this pandemic has been, Michaela, one thing that it truly exposed beyond the horrible things or the byproduct of it was all the things that people didn't do prior to the pandemic, the trips they didn't take, the conversations they didn't have with loved ones. For a lot of people, it woke them up.
Yeah, no, for sure. There have been silver linings, so many of them in the otherwise sea of darkness. How can we recognize if we're living on autopilot? I think for some of us, I'm amply aware of the times and places that I have been and when I'm doing it, but sometimes it's not as obvious, is it?
Not obvious at all, but I'll give you 3 quick metrics that can help you out. And these are ones that might hit people in the face a little bit, so I hope you're buckled up. First and foremost, let's think back to our career. If you're fortunate enough to have a job right now, I want you to think back to the last 30 days on your job and ask yourself this simple but challenging question. If your boss or manager had to make a decision to rehire you or not based on the last 30 days, would they immediately say yes, or would there be pause? If there's pause, you may be on autopilot, because we can all remember when we first started that job, how fired up we were, how committed we were.
100%.
Right? Remember showing up early, everybody? Remember showing up early? Staying late. But look, we can go another way. That's just a career focus. If you happen to be in a relationship, whether you're married, have a partner, boyfriend or girlfriend, get ready. If your partner had to make a decision to recommit to you based on the last 30 days of that relationship, would they immediately say yes? Or would they say, you know what, we might need to keep dating just for a little bit longer before I commit to you? And the amazing thing about this, Michaela, is we can look at this as it relates to parenting. Has your phone been between you and your kid too much? Have you said, give me 5 more minutes too many times? We can look at our health. We can look at our physical fitness. We can look at our personal finances. The last 30 days tell you a lot about what's going on, and more importantly, where you are going.
Okay, so we just identified, like that 30-day test. So we've identified it. Ouch, right? Ouch. That hit a little close to home on some of those. Now what? What's that next step? First thing, you got to identify that, Houston, we do have a problem. What is the next thing to do?
You know, I like to have fun with this. First and foremost, if you don't like the answers to those questions regarding the last 30 days, don't beat yourself up. This is just data, information that we can use.
Exactly.
Right? But let's have fun. Who remembers those Choose Your Own Adventure books when we were kids, right? Remember those?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my question for everyone watching. If your life was a movie, what would the lead character start doing to turn things around right now? Right now, we can all identify one thing we can do in our career, one thing we can do in our relationship, one thing we can do in parents, personal finances, you name it. And one thing I want to remind people is that breakthroughs come in small steps. Sometimes we think we have to take a big leap or do something massive. Listen, if you want to get back in shape, people are like, I'm going to work out every day. No, you're not. Give yourself just 15 minutes, 3 days a week. How about we start there? Ease into it. Make it fun. And again, if your life was a movie, what would the lead character start doing?
You know why I like that? You know why I like that, Antonio? Because to me, especially where we are, when you think about the loss people have dealt with the loss of loved ones, jobs, connection, it is a lot sometimes to even get out of bed. Right? Real talk. So that right there is a way that we can have agency in our own situations. We can take charge by even saying, you know what, today, the main character of my movie is going to make her bed and make a meal for herself and tell herself that she's going to be okay. Like, those little steps are so vital right now.
100%. You know, this book, if anything, Michaela, it reminds people that they have a say in their lives.
Yeah,
at some point, we're pointing fingers at everyone else, at politicians, the community, our boss. But at some point, we have to be willing to point our fingers at ourselves and say, hey, what role have I played in this and how can I step up? And you mentioned something about how challenging this time has been. I want to remind all of us that no one who has accomplished anything of significance did it alone. So I don't want you operating in a vacuum. I want you to connect to your community. I want you to pick up your phone and reach out to people, because right now people have retreated from what matters most, and that is connection.
We have retreated. Guilty. I've been guilty of it myself because it feels like too much. I can't deal. It's just too much. We have to reconnect. Antonio, this is just the start of many other conversations I feel like we could have, and I would like to invite you back on the show. By the way, the crew guys are kind of going bananas over your lighting, that you're so beautifully lit. So feel that that's a nice little rose coming your way on a rainy Thursday. Antonio Neves, you're take the compliment. You can find out more about his book. It is again called Stop Living on Autopilot. Check out his podcast, The Best Thing, or check out his website, theantonioneves.com.